The rest of the examples that I'm going to go over have to do with compound interest, two different types of compound interest. I believe the reading in the text has some other examples as well, and the assigned problems probably has some other examples. But this is an extremely important one that we use all the time in real life, so it's a good one to go over. So compound interest. So P, for compound interest, capital P is called the principal or the present value. Economists tend to call it a present value, whereas bankers call it a principal, but it means the same thing. Unfortunately, both those words start with a P. It's the investment amount or the loan amount, depending on if you're the lender or the person getting the loan. R is the rate of interest, and it's usually given as an annual rate, although you have to be careful. If it's not annual, it'll say specifically what it is. If people are kind of sloppy and they don't say annually or yearly, which means the same thing, then if they don't say anything about what the rate is, then the default is annually. If it's like per month, then they kind of have to say per month. And per day, they'd have to say per day. Okay, so N is the number of times per unit time, which is usually number of times per year, that the interest is added to the principal. The number of times interest is compounded. So every time we add interest into the principal, we call that a compounding. That's why this is called compound interest. Okay, we compound the interest. We add the interest into the principal. If you don't do that, then it's not compound interest. It's usually simple interest in that case. So T equals time. Units given in the statement of the interest rate, usually years. Capital A is the future value. I'm not sure why they're using capital A. I would use a capital F, but I think in banking they usually use a capital A. It stands for amount, which is silly because there's other amounts involved here too. But that's what's commonly used. So we get this formula. It looks kind of complicated. A equals P times the quantity 1 plus Rn, that quantity raised to the n times T power. This might look like it's kind of hard to remember. You do have to know the formula. But if you break it down into pieces and understand what it's doing, it's a lot easier to comprehend what the function means.